For years, Angela believed she had a happy marriage, but one day, she discovered a secret that would destroy her entire world. Her husband had another family. He had children she never knew existed, and the very people she trusted most were helping him hide the truth. But what they didn't know, there was something stronger than all their lies, a heart that was finally ready to fight back. The rain poured heavily that night. Outside, a modern home in Manila, Angela Santos stood frozen, tightly clutching an old photograph. She couldn't move, she couldn't cry, because in a single day, she had discovered a truth that destroyed everything she once believed. The man she had loved with all her heart, the younger sister she had raised, and the friend she had treated like family, all three of them were connected to the greatest pain she had ever known. But what they didn't know was that before they could completely destroy her, Angela had already uncovered a secret that would change all of their lives. 3 months before that night, Angela held a photograph in her hands, a photograph from the day she once believed marked the beginning of their happy family. Marco was there, her husband, the man who had once promised that she would be the only woman he would love for the rest of his life. Liza was there too, Angela's younger sister, the girl she had practically raised as her own daughter, and Camille, her closest friend. The woman, Angela, had always called her sister at heart. That day, Angela had no idea that the photograph she treasured would one day become one of her most painful memories. Angela, I promise you, I will never leave you. No matter what problems come between us, I will always choose you. Those were the words Angela held on to, words she truly believed, because to her, love wasn't only about staying together during the happiest days. Love meant staying when life became difficult. Years passed. Their life was never perfect. There were problems, there were struggles. But for Angela, it was enough to know that Marco was beside her, and it was enough to know that her younger sister Liza was part of their lives. She had no idea that while she was building the family she had always dreamed of, someone was already beginning to tear it apart. To Angela, Camille wasn't simply a friend. She was family. Camille was the person Angela called whenever something went wrong. She was one of the first people to hear about Angela's dreams. And more than anything, Camille was someone Angela trusted to look after the people she loved whenever she wasn't there. But sometimes, the person closest to you is also the person with the easiest access to your life. Angela wasn't born wealthy. Everything she had was the result of years of sacrifice and hard work. She had started with a tiny business inside a small room, then slowly built it into a successful company. People called her lucky, but they never saw the nights when she barely slept. They never saw the days when she had to choose between buying food and putting money back into the business. Through every struggle, Angela held on to one dream, that someday she would build a beautiful life with the person she loved. Of everything Angela had achieved, Marco was always the person she proudly kept beside her. Not because he had built her dream for her, but because she believed he was the man who would share the rest of her life whenever problems arose in the company. Marco was one of the first people she turned to. Whenever she was exhausted, Marco was the person she believed gave her strength. She didn't know that the man she trusted most was slowly preparing to betray her. Marco wasn't the only person Angela deeply loved. there was someone else she could never abandon. Liza. When Liza was still young, Angela became almost like a second parent to her. Angela helped pay for her education. She supported her whenever she had problems. She was one of the first people to believe in Liza's dreams. To Angela, Liza wasn't simply her younger sister. She was part of her heart. When Liza finished school, Angela never hesitated to give her an opportunity. She brought her into the company. She trained her, guided her, introduced her to the business world. "Someday, you'll be helping me run all of this," Angela once told her. Liza smiled. "I won't disappoint you, 8." Angela had no idea those words would one day become one of her most painful memories. That was where everything began. An ordinary day at the office. A simple introduction. Angela didn't know that bringing Liza into her company would begin a chain of events that could cost her everything she had worked for. Because on that day, two people met whom she never imagined would betray her: Marco and Liza. During Liza's first few weeks at the company, she focused on learning. Angela constantly reminded her, "Work hard. Don't think you're here just because you're my sister. Prove that you deserve the opportunity." And Liza did. She worked hard. She learned quickly. And because of that, people began noticing her, including Marco. "You're good at this." That was all Marco said. But to Liza, those simple words meant more than they should have. She had grown up feeling compared to others, especially to Angela. Angela was always the successful one, the admired one. So when her sister's husband praised her, Liza felt something she hadn't expected. A strange happiness, a feeling she should never have allowed to grow. At first, Angela noticed nothing unusual. Everything seemed normal. But as the months passed, small things began to change. Marco started coming home later. He spent more time holding his phone. And whenever Angela asked who he was talking to, his answer was always the same: just work. One night, while Angela slept, Marco received a message. Just a simple notification, but it was enough to begin something that should never have started. "Thank you for helping me earlier, Sir Marco. I don't know what I would have done without you." It was from Liza. Marco replied with words he never should have written. "I'm always here for you." Some employees began noticing how close Marco and Liza had become. There were whispers, questions, rumors. Eventually, those rumors reached Angela, but she refused to believe them. "Liza? No! I know my sister, and I know my husband." That is sometimes the danger of complete trust. When you give it with your whole heart, you can become blind to what is happening directly in front of you. Then came the company outing, a day that was supposed to be nothing more than a chance for everyone to relax. The entire team was there: Angela, Marco, Liza. But while everyone else enjoyed themselves, Angela noticed Marco and Liza repeatedly drifting away from the group. And for the first time, she saw something in the way they looked at each other, something she couldn't explain. Angela couldn't explain the feeling. It was only a look, a brief silence between two people. But sometimes, a wife senses something long before she has proof. Angela walked toward Marco. "Are you okay?" Marco smiled. "Yeah. Why?" "Nothing." And once again, Angela chose to believe him. After the outing, Marco's behavior changed even more. He wasn't the same man anymore. He stopped telling Angela about his day. He showed less interest in their plans. It felt as though Marco had entered another world, a world where Angela no longer belonged. One night, Camille sat alone with something weighing heavily on her mind. She knew something was wrong. She knew there were secrets Angela couldn't see. She wanted to say something, but instead of telling Angela the complete truth, Camille remained silent, because sometimes silence can become its own form of betrayal. Angela had no idea that while she quietly prepared for their future, 3 people connected to her life were becoming part of a secret that would destroy it. A husband, a sister, a friend, and everything began with something seemingly small. A glance, a message, a secret. While Angela remained busy growing the company, the secret between Marco and Liza grew as well. It began with ordinary conversations, small favors, a friendship that seemed harmless, but moments that should have remained professional slowly became moments they felt the need to hide. And the more they tried to hide them, the deeper their connection became. One evening, Angela waited for Marco at a restaurant for their anniversary dinner. She had prepared for it for days, but the hours passed and Marco never came. When Angela finally called him, his response was cold. "There's an emergency at the office." But the truth was, there was no office emergency. There was no meeting. Marco was spending the evening with someone else, Liza. That evening, Angela had brought Marco a gift, a watch. It matched the design of the one he already loved wearing. She wanted it to symbolize something, that no matter how much time passed, she would continue choosing him. But the gift remained unopened inside her bag, because the man she wanted to give her love to was no longer waiting for her. Angela noticed changes in Liza too. Before, Liza constantly asked for her advice. She always wanted to spend time with her. Now, there seemed to be things she refused to talk about, questions she avoided, looks Angela couldn't understand. But despite the uncomfortable feeling growing inside her, Angela chose to trust Liza, because she was her sister. One morning, while Angela searched for Marco's phone charger, a notification appeared on his phone. She wasn't trying to read his messages, but one sentence was enough to stop her. "I miss you. I wish it could always be just the 2 of us." Angela froze. She didn't know who had written it, but she knew one thing. Her husband was hiding something from her. That night, Angela confronted him. "Is there someone else?" Marco went silent. 1 second, then 2. Then he smiled. "Angela, I'm just tired. There's nobody else. Only you." There was a time when those words would have been enough. But now, something inside Angela told her they weren't true. Marco wasn't only hiding a relationship. He was preparing something much bigger. Little by little, he began moving money, collecting documents, preparing for a departure, a future that did not include Angela. His plan was to take everything he could, then disappear, as if nothing had happened. While Angela planned their future, her husband was making completely different plans while she thought about retirement and about growing their family. Marco was thinking about how he could permanently leave, and he wasn't planning to leave alone. One night, a call came from an overseas number. Marco refused to answer it in front of Angela. Instead, he walked outside. Then he quietly said, "Just a little longer. I'll have everything soon. Then I'll come home to you." But who was waiting for him? And what exactly did Marco mean by "come home"? Angela didn't know that Marco's betrayal with Liza wasn't even his biggest lie. There was another secret, an older one, a deeper one. Another family Angela had never known existed. 2 children, a woman living overseas, and a truth powerful enough to destroy Angela's entire world. On the other side of the world, Camille waited inside a quiet home. Every day, she watched the time, hoping the day would finally come when they would no longer have to hide. Because to Camille, Marco was the man who had promised her a new life. But the truth was, another woman was waiting for Marco too, and that woman was his legal wife, Angela. Inside Camille's home, 2 children were growing up, children who knew nothing about the complicated world the adults around them had created. They called Marco Papa. They missed him whenever he was away, and they hoped that someday he would finally stay with them permanently. They had no idea that somewhere in the Philippines, another family was being destroyed by their father's lies. Years passed, and Marco became skilled at hiding the truth. He had one life in the Philippines, another overseas. 2 stories, 2 sets of promises, 2 families expecting him to come home. But that is the problem with lies. You need more lies to keep the first ones alive. Angela didn't know that her closest friend, Camille, wasn't simply someone who knew about the secret. She was one of its most important parts. At first, Camille tried convincing herself that the situation wasn't truly wrong, that things were complicated, that Marco had his reasons. But with every passing day, she understood one undeniable truth. Someone would eventually be hurt, and that person would be Angela. Back in the Philippines, Angela couldn't stop thinking about Marco's behavior. Why did he keep receiving calls she couldn't hear? Why would he disappear for hours? Why did it feel as though there was an entire part of his life that no longer included her? For the first time, Angela wondered whether she had ever truly known the man she married. As a business owner, Angela understood numbers. She noticed details, especially things other people overlooked. And one day, something caught her attention. There were transactions she didn't remember approving. Money had been withdrawn. Documents carried approvals she hadn't given. And one name appeared repeatedly: Marcos. Marco, I found some unusual transactions. For a moment, he said nothing. Then he quickly recovered. They're just business expenses. You know, not everything has to be reported to you immediately. Before, Angela would have believed him, but now, a small part of her had begun to doubt everything he said. There was an employee who knew something. He had seen things. He had heard things. At one point, he even approached Angela, but fear stopped him from telling her everything. He knew Marco was powerful, and he was afraid of losing his job, so he held back the truth. Another silence that allowed the deception to continue. One day, while searching through old files on Marco's computer, Angela discovered a folder. No name, no label. She opened it, and a photograph appeared. Marco, a woman, 2 children, standing somewhere Angela didn't recognize. Her hand began to tremble, because she immediately understood. This wasn't an innocent photograph. That night, Angela didn't cry. She didn't scream. She simply sat there in silence. Because sometimes, a truth hurts even more when it arrives quietly. The man she loved had another family, and one question continued haunting her. How long had this been happening? Angela didn't sleep that night. The photographs remained in front of her. Marco, a woman, 2 children. She didn't know which possibility hurt more: that her husband had betrayed her, or that she might have spent years living inside a lie. For the first time, Angela stopped searching for reasons to forgive Marco. Instead, she began searching for the truth. Angela didn't confront Marco immediately. She knew that if she accused him without enough evidence, he could simply lie again. So she made a decision. She would remain silent, watch, investigate, and discover just how large the hidden world her husband had created really was. While examining old records, Angela found something: an old travel document, the name of a country, an address, a place Marco had never once mentioned to her. Her hands grew cold because suddenly the photograph no longer seemed accidental. Perhaps that place represented Marco's real second life. Not long afterward, a former employee of Marco contacted Angela. He had something to tell her. "Ma'am, Angela, I've wanted to tell you this for a long time, but I was afraid." Finally, someone was willing to tell her the truth. "Ma'am, there's something else I noticed." "Liza." Angela froze. She didn't want to hear what came next. "I think she and Sir Marco have a special relationship." Angela felt as though the world had suddenly stopped, because the sister she had loved and protected had apparently been keeping a devastating secret from her. The next day, Angela went to Liza's apartment, not to scream, not to hurt her. She simply wanted to hear the truth directly from her sister. "Liza, there's something I need to ask you." But before Angela could even finish, she saw the fear on Liza's face. And sometimes, a person's expression can answer a question before they say a single word. "Angela, it's not what you think." But the more Liza spoke, the clearer everything became, because she never denied it. She never said it was impossible. Instead, she finally whispered, "8, please forgive me." And in that moment, something inside Angela broke. But the secrets weren't over. While Angela stood there, confronting Liza, there was something else she still didn't know. Something that would change all of their lives. Liza was pregnant, and the father of the child she was carrying was Marco. While Angela uncovered one secret after another, Marco was still preparing his escape. He had already transferred money, prepared documents, organized travel papers, and with 2 women now connected to his hidden life, there was one destination on his mind: another country, somewhere far away from the consequences of everything he had done. That night, Angela stood alone inside her home. She had countless questions and more pain than she knew how to carry. But in the middle of everything falling apart, she realized something. She was no longer the woman who trusted blindly. She was no longer the wife who simply waited. From that moment forward, Angela would act, and Marco, Liza, and Camille would eventually have to face everything they had done. After discovering the truth, something inside Angela changed. She was no longer the woman who believed every explanation. She was no longer the wife waiting for Marco to give her another excuse. She refused to let the pain destroy her. Instead, she turned it into strength, because Angela understood that if she wanted justice, she needed to be smarter than the people who had betrayed her. Angela didn't create a scene. She didn't scream. She didn't show them how angry she was. Instead, she quietly gathered everything: financial records, messages, photographs, documents proving what Marco had done. Because Angela knew truth becomes much harder to deny when evidence is sitting in front of you. Several days later, Marco returned from another trip. He walked into the house, carrying his usual confident smile. He believed nothing had changed. He believed Angela was still the same trusting wife he had left behind. What he didn't know was that the woman waiting for him was no longer the same woman. "How was your trip?" Angela asked calmly. Marco smiled. "Fine. There was just a lot to take care of." Before, Angela might have reacted emotionally. Now, she simply smiled because she knew it wasn't time for Marco to discover how much she already knew. As they ate dinner, Marco talked about the future, plans, dreams they had supposedly built together. But now, Angela knew that many of his promises were nothing more than lies. She listened quietly because she wanted to know just how far her husband's deception could go. The next day, Marco secretly met Liza at a restaurant. They had no idea someone was watching them, not to confront them, not to create a public scene, but to obtain the final proof Angela needed. At last, Angela had what she needed. Photographs, videos, conversations. This was no longer suspicion, no longer imagination. It was evidence. Her husband, her sister, together. There was still one person Angela needed to face. Camille, the friend she had treated like a sister, the woman she had trusted, and the woman who had known far more than Angela ever imagined. Angela met her face to face this time. There would be no hiding behind silence. "Angela, please forgive me." Those were the first words Camille managed to say, and something inside Angela finally gave way. Because the deepest pain wasn't only Marco's betrayal. It was knowing that the woman she once called her closest friend had chosen to hide the truth from her. When Angela returned home, a decision formed inside her. She would no longer allow Marco to escape. She would no longer allow the people she loved to use her trust against her. The day would come when she would confront them together. And when that day arrived, no lie would be enough to save them. Marco had no idea that this would be one of the last nights he could lie freely. Angela invited everyone to dinner. She called it a simple family gathering. That was what Marco believed. He thought perhaps they would talk about the future. He didn't know that dinner would mark the beginning of the collapse of every secret he had worked so hard to protect. Angela hadn't invited those people by accident. Marco, the husband who promised her forever Liza, the sister Angela had loved, raised, and supported. Camille, the friend she had trusted like family. 3 people who had become important parts of Angela's life. And 3 people who had betrayed her in different ways. The entire dining room fell silent. Then Angela spoke. "Marco, there's something I want to ask you." He stopped moving. Angela looked directly at him. "Do you have another family?" One question. That was all it took for the color to disappear from Marco's face. "You don't need to lie anymore." Angela placed the photographs on the table, then the documents, financial records, evidence, proof. The time for excuses is over. And for the first time, Marco realized something terrifying. He was no longer controlling the situation. A long silence followed. Finally, Marco gave in. "Angela, there are things I never told you." Angela gave a bitter laugh. "Never told me, or deliberately hid from me." Marco had no answer. because he knew his lies had finally reached the end. Angela thought Marco's other family was already the greatest betrayal she could endure. But another truth still had to be spoken. Liza stepped forward. Her voice trembled. 8. I'm carrying a child. Angela felt the world stop again, because the father was her husband, Marco. For the first time, Angela stopped controlling her emotions. You didn't only destroy my marriage, you destroyed my trust. I helped you. I loved you. And you still chose to deceive me. Her eyes filled with tears. But this time, Angela wasn't speaking as a helpless victim. She was finally saying everything she had been forced to carry. Marco believed Angela had revealed everything she knew, but she hadn't. There was still one more thing, something he never expected her to discover. Angela lifted a thick folder. And we're not finished. I also know about your family overseas. Marco suddenly stood, because that was the secret he had protected more carefully than anything else. At last, the entire truth came out. This wasn't simply one affair. It wasn't simply one woman. It wasn't one mistake. Marco had another family, 2 children, another home, and for years, he had convinced everyone around him that he was living only one life. Marco believed Angela would eventually forgive him because that was the Angela he remembered. Patient, trusting, always willing to stay. But that Angela had changed. She looked at her husband, then said the words he never expected. The man I once loved is also the man I now have to leave. And that night, Angela chose herself. The next morning, the house felt completely different. A place once filled with laughter and plans had become silent. No casual conversations, no affection, no promises pretending to be real. For the first time, Marco understood that he was no longer in control of his life. For years, Marco had been accustomed to making the decisions. He controlled the information. He kept the secrets. He decided who knew what. But now, Angela had the truth. And one by one, she began closing every door Marco had once used to manipulate her. Angela didn't allow anger to control her next move. She chose intelligence. She met with lawyers. She showed them everything: documents, transactions, evidence of deception. Then she told them one thing: I only want what is right. Meanwhile, overseas, Camille learned what had happened. For the first time, she saw the full consequences of what they had done. This was no longer simply about her relationship with Marco. It wasn't about the future they had imagined. Another woman's life had been devastated because of the choices they had made. For Camille, the most painful part was looking at her children. They were innocent children who had believed their father was a good man. Children who had no responsibility for the lies surrounding them. But now, Camille faced the impossible task of explaining a truth no child should have to understand. When Marco discovered that his actions were being investigated, panic set in. He began calling people he had once relied on, people who had helped him, people he believed would protect him. But one by one, they disappeared, because very few people want to remain beside someone once his entire world begins collapsing. Eventually, the weight of what Liza had done became impossible to carry. She went to Angela, not expecting immediate forgiveness, but because she needed to admit something. She knew she had been wrong. 8. I know I hurt you, and I know I can never undo what I did. Angela looked at Liza. Countless memories returned. The years she had helped her, protected her, treated her, not only as a sister, but almost as a daughter. But wounds do not disappear because someone says, "I'm sorry. Maybe someday I can forgive you. But I hope you understand. That doesn't mean I'll forget what happened." Before everything truly ended, Marco asked Angela for one final conversation. They met in a place where they had once dreamed about their future together. But now, they were almost strangers. A man who had lost everything, and a woman who had finally learned to choose herself. Months passed, and slowly, Angela's smile returned. Not because she had forgotten the pain, but because she understood that she didn't deserve to remain somewhere she was repeatedly being hurt. Sometimes, the greatest love you can give is the love you finally choose to give yourself. Several months later, the day Angela had been waiting for finally arrived. The investigation produced its findings: the transferred money, the hidden documents, Marco's plans to leave her. Piece by piece, everything came to light. At last, it wasn't one person's word against another. The evidence spoke for itself. Marco used to be the man who always had an answer, always confident, always convinced he could control everything around him. But now, he sat alone in silence. The arrogance was gone. So was the power he once believed he possessed. Because for the first time, Marco had no choice but to face the consequences of his own decisions. Overseas, Marco faced one of his most difficult moments. He stood before the two children who knew nothing about his betrayals. They approached him, "Papa," and, hearing that word, made the weight of everything he had done even heavier. Because now, even the children he loved could become people he would eventually lose. "I don't understand you, Marco." Camille looked at him. "Why did you do this? You already had a family. You had a wife. You had children. Why did you have to destroy everything?" For the first time, Marco had no excuse left. Marco remained silent for a long time. Then finally, he admitted it. "I thought I could have everything. I thought I would never get caught." It wasn't because nobody loved him enough. It was because he became greedy. And while trying to build two different lives, Marco lost the respect of almost everyone who had trusted him. Moving forward wasn't easy for Camille. She had children to think about, years of memories, a complicated history with Marco. But she eventually understood something. Love that had been built on deception could never become a real home. So Camille decided to stand on her own, for herself and for her children. Meanwhile, back in the Philippines, Angela slowly rebuilt her world. Her company became even stronger. So did she. She was no longer merely the woman people identified as Marco's wife. She was Angela, a successful woman, a survivor, someone who had risen from betrayal and reclaimed her life. One day, Marco returned, not as Angela's husband, not as the powerful man he once believed himself to be, but as someone carrying regret. "Angela, I'm sorry." Angela looked at him quietly. Because some wounds can eventually heal, but the trust that existed before them may never return. Angela never said she had forgotten. She never pretended nothing had happened. because that isn't what forgiveness means. Forgiveness can simply mean choosing not to carry the anger forever as you continue with your life. I forgive you, Marco, but I have to choose myself now. Time passed. The wounds became memories. The tears became lessons. And Angela learned something important. Not everything you lose is truly a loss. Sometimes, losing the person who destroyed you opens the door to discovering your own worth. Several years passed, and many things changed. Marco, once powerful and confident, learned to live a much simpler life. He was no longer the man who believed he could hide everything because he finally understood. A lie may begin as something small, but when you continue feeding it, it can eventually destroy an entire life. Liza also learned to face what she had done. It wasn't easy. There were days filled with regret, nights when she questioned how she had been capable of hurting her own sister. But Liza eventually chose to change, for her child and for herself. Overseas, Camille's children continued growing. Their family wasn't perfect, but Camille chose to raise them with love and truth. She didn't pretend the past had never happened. Instead, she taught them something from it. Never repeat the mistakes their father had made. Angela continued moving forward. She didn't close her heart to love, but she learned never to surrender her entire identity to someone incapable of protecting the trust she gave them. She no longer searched for another person to rescue her, because Angela had already rescued herself. Angela never expected that years later, she and Marco would meet again. Not as husband and wife, not as two people planning a future together, but simply as two people who shared a past. "How are you?" Marco asked. Angela smiled. "I'm happy now." And sometimes, those are the hardest words for someone who lost everything to hear. Before they walked away from each other for the last time, Angela said one final thing. "Marco, your biggest mistake was believing you could have everything, but you never stopped to think about who you would lose." Marco said nothing because he knew she was right. Eventually, Marco accepted what he could no longer change. Not everything can be repaired. Some forms of trust, once completely broken, never return to what they were before. And sometimes, the heaviest punishment is simply having to live with the memory of everyone you hurt. As the years passed, Angela became an inspiration to others, not because she had escaped pain, but because she had chosen to rise. After experiencing it, her life became proof that another person's betrayal does not have to become the ending of your story. In life, we cannot control who chooses to hurt us. We cannot control the decisions other people make, but we can control how we rise afterward, because genuine love begins with respect, honesty, and love for yourself. And that was where Angela's story came to an end. A woman who had loved with all her heart, a wife who had been betrayed, a person who had been deeply hurt, but more than anything, a woman who finally chose to love herself. Because sometimes, losing the person we once believed was our entire world is the beginning of discovering our own worth. If someone betrays your trust, never allow their betrayal to take away the love you have for yourself. Your true worth is not determined by whether another person chooses you. Please like and subscribe to my channel, Chronicles of Love 2. Keep you updated for more exciting stories ahead. Thank you.